Welcome back. Teacher John Vic is back. We want to now discuss triggers, triggers of crisis in a sickle cell disease sufferer. Crisis is in a turning point in a disease where the person will feel it much, which can lead to either somebody death or severe suffering. So we want to look at triggers. What are the things that can trigger crisis in sickle cell sufferer? Number one thing that triggers crisis is dehydration. Somebody who is suffering from sickle sickness should be hydrated, should drink enough water, because dehydration makes the blood to harder, it thicken. It thicken when somebody is not is a sufferer is dehydrated. It will make the blood to thicken more, and when the blood thicken, remember the sickle cell disease cell there is causing problem already. When the blood thickens more, it will make the flow to cut off the flow of blood in the system, and that can result to crisis, dehydration. So I make sure that the person is drinking enough water. Another trigger is infection. Of course, when somebody is a sufferer, is always prone to infection, can cause fever, infection, and when the infection will cause the blood to be more viscous, it leads to blood viscosity, that the blood become semi-fluid, become thicker, become sticky. And when the blood become like that, it will be very difficult for it to flow to transport oxygen around the body. So infection can trigger crisis. Another thing is stress. When some in a situation, maybe a child is suffering from sickle cell, or somebody suffering from sickle cell, but the person is always stressed. You know that when you hear bad news, that at times you have butterfly in your stomach, you won't be able to eat. Your body wouldn't want to take any food. So when somebody who is suffering from sickle cell is stressed, it will result to the constriction of the blood vessel. The blood vessel become thinner, smaller, making the flow of blood more difficult. So stress can cause it. Avoid stressful situation. When another trigger is cold temperature. Don't expose somebody who is suffering from sickle cell to cold weather, because the cold weather will will cause the blood vessels, especially at the extremities, like the hand, feet, nose, ears, it will make it to constrict, so reducing the blood flow. So cold temperature, don't expose the person to cold weather. Always keep the person warm to reduce constriction of blood vessels, especially at the extremities that's far from the heart. Another trigger is low oxygen level. The person who is suffering from sickle cell should not be exposed to high altitude. The higher you go, the cooler it becomes, the amount of oxygen is reduced. So the height, that person should not be in a height where there's reduction of oxygen. High altitude and low oxygen pressure. So the person should not be exposed to low oxygen levels. Strenuous exercise. Somebody who is a sufferer should not do a lot of exercise, because as the exercise is being done, there will be dehydration, and when there's dehydration, there will be low oxygen level, because the blood will thicken, the blood will not flow, hemoglobin will not be able to transport the oxygen around the body. Smoking and vaping is also can trigger it. Somebody who is a sufferer should not smoke. Smoking can trigger a crisis in a sickle cell sufferer. Another thing that can trigger it, pregnancy. Of course, when somebody who is a sickler gets pregnant, there will be more strain on the body, causing a lot of pains and everything. Then vitamin deficiencies. Make sure that the person is taking enough food that's rich in vitamins to sustain the person. And then pain, oh my God, pain. It's really, I've seen somebody who, oh my goodness, that was going through crisis. It was a painful situation. A young man, a black man, I saw the person in the hospital, the person shouting, groaning because of the pain. So perhaps all these things that I've mentioned, like I said before, will make us to be able to appreciate the fact that we should try to avoid conjugal relationship between the same, this threat, AS and AS. So avoid to reduce this. The crisis is always too bad. The crisis is bad. Let's try to reduce it, please. Don't go and marry somebody when you are AS and you go and marry. Say God will help you. You faith it. God will change it. I'm not saying that God cannot do miracle to change your genotype, AS to AA, please. But we know, if you know that this thing shouldn't be done, and you go and do it and start asking God to change it, God will not change it too. I think so. Because we said that if you match upon serpent and the scorpion, it will not hurt us. You don't go and see snake and the serpent and go and match them, scorpion. It is when you do it unknowingly. So people that have done it unknowingly and they have produced these children, please help them to navigate this life. Some of them, at times they need blood transfusion. I'm not a doctor, I'm just giving information. If you have such people with such crisis, you go and meet, you always take them to the hospital, help them. Bye for now.